How's it going today, YouTubers? Electron Man. Well, we got a little bit of a different project we're going to work on today. With the price of lumber these days, I haven't been doing a whole lot of construction or shelf building on the old shop. I did find these 1x3s here at the local hardware store, Lowe's, and they had them on sale for $3 a piece. And you know, normally I build my shelves, I just build them all out of 2x4 and plywood and don't think a thing about it. But you know, these lumber prices have gotten out of control. That's a whole long discussion we ought to have about that. I've been doing some research and there's some really questionable stuff going on with that. But anyway, needless to say, due to the price of lumber, I haven't built many shelves, and I kind of dreamed this up in my head, and hopefully this works out good. But I think it'll be strong, and it's definitely a lot more cost effective with the cost of lumber these days. So anyway, basically what I'm going to do, first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to decide on the height of my shelves. Go ahead and get one screw set up here. And I mean, this is all ballpark. It doesn't really matter. It just depends on how high I want the shelf. But it's going to be an 8-foot shelf, obviously, as you can tell. I almost hate to cover my little wall montage there, but basically that was a backdrop I bought for when I was working and having Skype meetings or Zoom meetings. And I hated to throw it away. It's just kind of cool. It kind of wrapped around there and made the shop look kind of cool with the cars and stuff. But anyway, the first thing we're going to do is do the shelf height, which probably go somewhere around there. I don't want it to where I can bang my head, but I want to be able to reach up and get stuff. So it's probably 6.5 footage there, and still leave me some room on the shelf in there. But basically, I'm gonna see, I tried to redo that and screw that. Messed me up on that. Let me go ahead and get it started here. Okay. Back to, we don't want it all the way to the end. Something about like that right there. Go down a little bit. And there we go. That's going to be the height. Now all I got to do is take a level. Put the old level on there. Bubble her out. I'm OCD, so I definitely want the shelf straight. Down a little bit, just a little bit. There it goes. That's good right there. I can hold that. I can get a second screw in her. Okay, make sure we're still level. That's good there. Surprisingly, this wood, even though at $3 was less, wasn't real warped or anything. Looks good. Okay. So now we know we got to go level. I'll just add a few more screws in here. You won't be that way to me. And I'm just using like 1 3/4 screws here. And I know there's no water lines or anything behind what I'm screwing into, so I'm safe that way. Okay, step one. Now shelf-wise, I usually like to make my shelves about between 12 and 16 inches deep. I've actually found 16 inches to be a really, really good, almost doesn't look level. Is that level? Yeah, it's level enough. Okay, but I usually make my shelves between 12 and 16 inches deep. I'm going to make this one 16. I've got basically the idea behind this is I've got some RC cars and stuff that I'm gonna put up there, kind of get them out of the way, keep them nice in the garage. So now I've got my basically my start board here. What this is gonna do is gonna be the back edge for my plywood to set on. So now what I need to do is I need to build some supporting brackets, and so let me get the old table saw out here and find my scrap, and we'll start cutting some lumber here. Okay, here's my table saw. What I did on this was I went ahead and set the rip fence out to 16 inches, basically 16 inches from the blade to the rip fence, and I found this little old piece of lumber here. Well, it's probably worth $200 nowadays, but anyway, it's a little old piece of 5/8 plywood that I had, and I just measured, and it's actually 32 inches wide by almost 5 feet. So for my 8-foot shelf, it'll work perfect. If I can make two 16-inch shelves off of it, no problem. And actually have a little bit extra on the end there to work with. So I'm gonna go ahead and rip that now. Check that again, make sure I got 32 inches to work with, which I do. That's perfect. So let's go ahead and rip this guy. Well, shoot, I run a little bit of a problem. I thought that piece of wood was square, but it's not. So that means we're going to have to take about an extra ½ inch off of that sucker. Shoot. Okay, that's all right. So we end up with a 15.5 inch shelf. But hopefully you're seeing this. I'll move the camera here, maybe that'll be better. So we're going to readjust my rip fence down to 15.5 inches. Okay. And we're going to rip it again. I sure don't want to waste any, as you can tell. I'm trying to get every bit of wood I can out of this piece of plywood at the price they're going these days. Off the other one now. I need to do the same rip. have my 2 pieces of wood you can see here, which are exactly equal width. Really nice to have a table saw for that. So, okay, so now what we're going to do is we're going to need to build some side supports. And my idea behind that is that since I know I'm at 15.5, I need to cut another piece of plywood to 15.5 inches long, and I can draw a diagonal line down it, and that will give me my shelf supports. So let me see what I can find for a piece of square. I need a square piece of 15.5 by 15.5 now, which I've already got it on the rip saw, so that shouldn't be hard to come up with. Just need to find a piece of plywood to do it. Okay, I actually found me a piece of 3/4 or 7/8 here of plywood, a chunk. I'm glad I keep every little piece of this stuff, but anyway, I'm going to cut my side supports out of this, which is even better. It's a little thicker, which is good for the side supports since they're going to be what supports the shelf. So now I don't even have to change the blade settings because I already know I've got it set for 15.5, so I just need to rip it. Put this back up in the spare. We're not going to be needing this right now. I sell this piece of wood here for $200. Yeah, I'm being facetious, but seriously, a piece of plywood these days, that size, a 4x8 sheet, is probably in the $60 to $70 range. When I purchased this, I probably paid $21, $22. So now what I'm going to do is I've got this ripped at 15.5, because I'm just going to rip it the other way to 15.5. So I end up with a square piece. I know that's 15.5 by 15.5. It could be any size, but you just don't. Hopefully I'm catching so it looks like the camera's pointing in the right way. Well, I can edit it out if it's not. But okay, so now, like I was telling you, since I set the rip fence at 15.5 inches, I knew that as long as I rip it and rip it both ways, I end up with a 15.5 by 15.5 inch square piece of lumber, which is what I needed for my shelf supports. You know, just follow along with me and you'll get the idea. But anyway, next thing I'm going to do, so I'm just going to lay a straight line from corner to corner. Go ahead and do that. Okay, now that I have that line from corner to corner, as you can see that I scribed in there, now I'm just going to rip it down that line and see you can probably get an idea where I'm going now. And these will be my shelf brackets, which will set up like that and support the shelf on top and against the wall here. Let me go ahead and rip that real quick. Okay, I've now got that ripped. As you can see, I just cut it down that line that I scribed. And now if my measurements are right, sorry, this should be 15.5 inches. And look at that, 15.5 inches on the money. So, I know I now have a 15.5 inch shelf bracket, which is going to go like this. So let me go ahead and get you moved back over here. You'll definitely get an idea of what I'm doing once I get you moved back over here. Okay, hopefully I need better camera, but I got to work with what I got, especially since I lost my job back in September. I'll tell you what, they're for 59-year-old middle management guys, they say there's jobs out there I've applied at least 100 jobs. I've gotten maybe 3 or 4 interviews. Yeah, this pandemic hit me good, there's no doubt about it. They're not lining up to hire 59-year-olds for the kind of salary. And you know what? I don't even expect to get the salary I was, but you know, I'd take 60% of what I was making. And I'm not even getting close to that. But anyway, as you can see here, hopefully, the idea here now is I'll go ahead and tow that into the end of that wood right there. And I know that I'm 15.5 here, which is the length of my shelf, which is perfect. And we go there, tow it in, I'll tow it in here. Whenever you're dealing with plywood, I'm gonna go get a drill. I will pre-drill these holes because it will tend to want to split when you're dealing with this thickness. But if I drill them, it'll be perfect. So let me go ahead and get these two mounted up here for you, and I will come back. I don't know if you need to see watch me walking around screwing these in, but you'll get the idea once I get the two shelves up. And then I'll have to decide. I might want to cut a third one and actually put a third one in the middle. I'll see how strong the shelf is first. Put a third one in here in the middle, maybe. We'll see how strong the shelf is after I'm done building it. But I can always go back and add a center support. I still got the saw set. Well, it wouldn't matter. I know it's 15.5, so I can always make a 15.5-inch cube and make another shelf support. So let me go ahead and get these two mounted up here, and then from there you'll see where you get a better idea what's going on. It got me sweating a little bit here now. Now I already got the other side done. I did do one little modification, which I'll detail a little bit more, but I added this 1x3 on the inside. I was just gonna toenail one through this way in, but I just didn't feel like that was gonna give me the support I wanted. So, I mean, like I said, these were $3 for 8-foot sticks, so I don't mind using up a little bit more of that. Price of the bill is not gonna really go up with using that. As you can see, I'm pre-drilling these holes. Sure don't want them to split. And this cheap pine that I bought will split real easy if you're not careful. So just take the extra moment to pre-drill it. You won't have any problem. That feels pretty dang solid there. So now you're getting a feel for what I'm doing. So you get an idea of, and what have I got in it? And hey, you got to get by with what you can with the lumber prices the way they are right now. Which obviously the next thing is, here's my shelves that I cut at 15.5, which is just gonna lay on top just like this. Yeah, I think I am going to do a center support. It just makes sense to, especially since I've got to use two pieces anyway. It just kind of makes sense to do it. I need to go ahead and cut a center support in there, but it gives you a pretty good idea where we're going with this shelf. And I promise you, this is going to be definitely will hold several 100 pounds. I mean, I don't know that I'll be putting car engine blocks on it, but it should be pretty solid, especially with that center support in there. But that gets you a pretty good idea where we're going with it. I'm going to go ahead and stop here for a second and cut a center support. I say that another one of these for in the center there, and I'll probably go ahead and lay another one of these pieces beside it, just so that I have something good to screw in from the side instead of trying to toenail it in here and split that plywood, because you know plywood's laminated together, so anything going in that direction is going to want to split. So that'll give you a pretty good idea, and I think that's going to be a nice size shelf right there. And it should be completely out of my way. That was the plan. So let me go ahead and cut another center support. Why, it's even staying up there. Don't know that I trust walking underneath it right now, but then as you can see, I'm just gonna get my letter there and I'll just screw it in along the back, screw it along the side. And I got a little finishing trim I'm gonna do on it too. I'll show you when we get to that. But anyway, let me go ahead and cut another center support and I'll be back. Okay, now as you see, I'm starting to actually screw the shelves together, and basically what I'm doing is I'm just drilling tap holes through and connecting these two. I'm going to go ahead and add a board just because I want a little ledge, and I think it'll strengthen the front of it a little bit and keep it from warping or anything, since it doesn't have a standard 2x4. I'm going to do a little 1x3, and actually I'll do is I'm mounting about a. But I also keep things from rolling off the shelf, which is kind of cool. And I'll just give it about a ½ inch there lip on it. Put a couple screws in it. Hopefully that's not too long. Might be a little long. Oh, that's perfect. I was able to get in that piece of wood. Put the other one right here. There we go. And now you see I've got a little lip going, which I'll do that along the front too, which I measured it off an inch or 3/4 of an inch for the width of this, so that it sets flush there. But now I'll just continue to drill holes and run screws along that back border there and continue to mount the shelf that way. Hopefully this isn't confusing. We'll go ahead and roll this camera around here. Sorry, earthquake. Go ahead and get her set up kind of center like that. As you can see, I'm just going to work my way down. Another piece of shelf to finish it off, which I'm cheap, so normally I would make my center where my crack, where the two pieces join, but like I said, this was longer than 48 inches. It was like 52. So I still want my bracket in the center, so I went ahead and just gonna overlap it there, and then I'll just splice the two boards. You don't have that front cover going, you won't notice it anyway, but I'm kind of rambling, but there's this idea in my head there to get the most out of the lumber, considering the prices of it. So let me get some screws and continue my buttoning this shelf down on the back side for support. See, it's already holding my drill. Drilled. Now I just I've already tapped this hole. And then we'll do about 2 more of those. Just make sure. Good thing is the way I'm doing this, it's going to be square automatically. So I cut it on the table saw, and we're dealing with square layers, square lumber. So. Now, yeah, that does. Let me get my square, and we'll square this one out. Looks like I might have got a little higher there. That's all right. I can adjust easily. I did have to make one little notch in my center support there in the back, as you can see, just so that it wouldn't interfere with that support in the back. So let me go ahead and straighten this out, get that screwed down. I'll be. Okay, I'm now mounting this front fascia board on here that I decided to add just to give it more support up front, and that it gives me a nice little lip, which basically I just tacked one in the middle. What I did is I did some internal marks there at 3/4 of an inch. I'm gonna have a 3/4 inch lip on the inside of it, and basically we just go through these and line her up. and screw it in. Just like so. And then we'll go along here and add one about every, I don't know, 18 inches, 2 feet. I'll make sure I get it centered on that board there. Then I can kind of adjust as I need if it's a little high or low in one place. It's a little low in that middle there, so I'll line her up here. I should go ahead and start them. Put it in the hole. And then screw in her like that. And there you go. You get the gist of it. Hopefully I've got the camera high enough you're seeing that. But basically, yeah, there you go. And I just did the same on the end. And really, I mean, once you do that, it stiffens it up so much. I could have probably not done that, but it actually gives it a nice clean front look. And like I said, I like having a little lip so stuff doesn't just slide off of it. And for the extra $3 that it cost me for this 1x3, I figured it was worth going ahead and doing. Well, now I just continue down, working my way down, making sure my gap's the same all the way across. And I'll get the whole front fascia on there. I already got the side fascia. Got my supports in. We're getting close to getting this project done, and it's only taking me a couple hours and saved me a lot of money. I mean, if I had done it the way I usually do it, which would have been 2x4s. 2x4s are running $8 or $9 a piece now. I would have needed at least 3 or 4 of those. And I normally just buy plywood. I mean, you know, you got to do what you got to do whenever prices on lumber are like they are. It's kind of funny to me, these prices. I tell you, I don't want to get too much of a tangent, but you know, I've been looking and I'm like, what's driving these prices? And it's kind of interesting. I'll stop here a second. I need to catch my breath anyway. And so I went out and looked, and I'm like, is it the material? Are we running out of woods? Our trees? Have tree prices went way up or something? So anyway, there's what they call a tree stumpage report. And basically what that is that's what you're getting for raw material cut down to the stump. And I got to looking, and it's running, $24.50, something like that right now. And 10 years ago, it was 25 something. So it's actually about $1.30 down in price from what it was 10 years ago. So you're like, what? Well, that doesn't make any sense. So if it were a shortage of lumber or timber from the stumpage, which is raw lumber, then obviously that price would be driven way up. Instead, it's down to like a 15-year low. So it's not that. So it's material is not what costing the money. So then I got to doing a little research and found out that there's about 600 sawmills in the United States. But out of those 600 sawmills, there's only maybe 10 or so percent that are actually what you would call production or corporate sawmills. The rest of them are specialty sawmills. They do small loads of lumber and, specialty timber for a timber frame house, etc. They don't do, 4x8 sheets of plywood, etc., like Georgia Pacific and some of these big guys do. So then, okay, so it gets down to, there's only about 60 of these sawmills left in the United States, and, these big corporate ones. And I'm like, so if they're not having a supply problem, and then I got to looking, yeah, COVID, they got shut down for about 2 months about a year ago now. So they've been back at full production for over a year, and then they're claiming it's a shortage of lumber because of COVID and the supply. But then when I go to Lowe's, or I don't know if any of you guys have been looking at lumber, but I go to Lowe's or any of them places, perfect example is like 7/16 OSB. They have stacks among stacks. They've got thousands of sheets of this OSB for $30 a sheet, mind you, which I was paying $7.88 a sheet a year ago. So if my local Lowe's has thousands of sheets, then it's not a supply problem. I basically, what I've come down to is it's the old monopoly syndrome, I call it. It's capitalism without any control. And basically what has happened is that the corporate mongers of wood have bought up any of the small and paws, so it's down to their small amount, and they're just fixing prices. I mean, that's what it gets down to. I can go on a long rant about it, but basically they're fixing prices. Yes, there's a high demand for it right now, and you know how you meet a high demand is you ramp up production. They're not ramping up production. They have no intention of ramping up production. Of course they love it. Their supply from the stump is actually at a 10 or 15-year low, so they're getting their wood for 10-year lows, and then they're turning it around and selling it at a 400 to 500% increase, claiming shortage. The only shortage is created by them. If they really wanted to fix the shortage, all they do is ramp up production. But ramping up production would then mean that there would be more supply, and of course more supply would mean that the price would go down. And I call it the monopoly syndrome, because I know I don't want to get into politics at all, but I'm all about capitalism, but there's a problem with capitalism. If you ever played the game of Monopoly, what happens in the game of Monopoly? One person ends up with everything. Well, that's what happens to unregulated capitalism. If you don't regulate capitalism, in the 70s and 80s, they actually broke up like Standard Oil, because it was a monopoly, and they knew that once one company owns so much of a product that nobody can compete with them. It's kind of the Walmart syndrome. Walmart comes into a small town, they make their price lower than all the local drugstores and everything else. They run them out of business. Once they're out of business, they can name their price. Well, that's what unbridled capitalism is that basically capitalism is taking over the lumber market, and you have a few corporations that are controlling the prices, and they have no intentions of ever dropping them. And the shame is I've been reading it's up to $30,000 to $50,000 more to have a home built today, because of these outlandish prices that are not from raw material. They're strictly because these corporations have decided that they want to control the price, and they're using the pandemic as an excuse to do it, basically. Anyway, I'll get off that rant. I just, I went out and did a little research, got to reading, and I best not to quit reading, because the more I read, the more charts I looked at, the deeper I got into it, the more it was obvious. It has nothing to do with, it's all about its supply, and they control the market, and they have no intentions of ramping up supply to drop prices. I mean, I guess if I were that, one or two rich men that are actually in control of that, I probably wouldn't either, but think of all the people that it's hurting. Me, the way I get around it is I ain't bought lumber in a year, and I'm not going to buy lumber until it comes back down to somewhat of a reasonable price. And like this project here, I just found a workaround. I used scrap plywood and bought the cheapest boards I could find. There's not a big demand on 1x3s, fortunately. So that's why I was able to get away with buying these on sale and they're not the greatest, by the way, but for shelving, for what I'm using, it's definitely not furniture quality, but for what I'm using it for, it actually works pretty dang good. Anyway, hopefully I didn't make anybody angry with that. I had somebody that's, a capitalist lover, but and like I said, I'm all about capitalism. I agree about, to a point, but like monopoly, if you let one person take total control of it, there's no longer a competitive market. They bought the competitive market out. They control the prices now. They say how much it's going to be and how much you're going to pay for it. There you go. Look at that, man. I guarantee you I could probably stand on this. Not that I'm going to, as you can tell, I'm a pretty big guy, but But I have pretty good faith in that I could literally stand on this, and it would support me. I'll put one more in there. Hopefully I haven't got another screw. My pocket ain't gonna get down. There we go. I actually had to, I'll kind of get the camera to show you, I had to, like I said, I used scrap, so in the middle I had to have a seam, and then I didn't want to waste any and cut the boards exactly 4 feet and do that, so I centered my support, but let my wood run over, because then I ended up with a piece, you know, about 14 inches by 15.5 inches that I might be able to use for something else. I mean, heck, in today's time, that's probably worth $30. That might be a little exaggeration, but you know, prices have gotten ridiculous. So let me move this out of the way here. And you don't believe anything what I'm telling you, go look it up yourself. You know, I actually contacted my congressman about it. You know, I'm like, this is total BS. You know, we need to get some regulatory. You know, you shouldn't be able to allow that type of thievery, if you ask me. I know there's laws against that, like in, you know, when you've got hurricanes and stuff that you can't price gouge like that. It's nothing but price gouging. It's robbery, is what it is. I mean, I would be surprised some of them sheets that they're selling OSB 7/16 wasn't made 2 years ago when it's 7/88 a sheet. So they're you know, and it's literally like $30 a sheet now. I mean, it's 400% markup. There ain't no way. Anyway, I hope you're getting a good view of this. I mean, look at this, guys. I can hang on it, and I'm 300 pounds. So that gives you an idea. Pretty resourceful. I mean, it'll help some of you guys come up with an idea, but I kind of dreamed this up when I was sleeping. I was thinking, what can I do to build some shelves without having to buy $8 or $9 a piece 2x4s? And I mean, normally I would have went to the store under normal prices, and this shelf would have cost me all new. I'd have bought a 4x8 sheet of plywood and probably 4 2x4s, and I'd have had $50 in it. Now, you know, you're talking, what, 50 for the plywood at least, and then now you're talking at least over $100. So I built it for, like I said, I got those 1x3s for $3 a piece here recently too. So I used basically 3 pieces of 1x3, so $9. The rest of it was scrap. I mean, literally scrap. So I really got $9 in screws plus some scrap plywood in it, and I think it serves well. Basically, I'll come back maybe to show you a picture, but I'm gonna put all my RC cars and stuff up top there. It's kind of idea with that. I mean, you know, shelving's the way to go. It keeps it off the floor, keeps it organized. And I think actually it's kind of funny because it almost looks better than my other shelving. I kind of like the way it looks, and putting that fascia on, you just about have to. That made a huge difference, not only in the rigidness of the shelves, but it finishes it out. It looks good. But anyway, I got one little spot here left to do. I just got one end piece. In fact, I got to screw this down. I haven't centered it yet. It needs to be centered. I haven't screwed that down yet. But by the way, if you don't have it, I think they call this a framing square or a framing square. But man, buy one of these. They're so handy. Things like I want to make sure that I have a true 90 degrees there. Look, I just set it up against there. That's how I make sure all my 90-degree angles are right. I mean, it's a perfect angler. It does pitch on roofs. You can use it as a straight line, hook it on the side of 2x4, draw your straight line. I mean, they're like $5, probably the most essential tool you have when you're framing or building. But anyway, this is Electron Man. I'm gonna go ahead and finish this up and maybe get this video out there, and I might throw a quick video of just how it looks once I got all my stuff on it. But I think you pretty much got the gist of how I built this, and you know, fun little 2 or 3 hour garage project, and you got you a nice shelf here to sure save you some space. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed. Have a great day. This is Electron Man. Please like and subscribe.